So continue the halacha Pesach halacha bet, and then it says v'zeh bechinat 10 mitzvot hanagot bapat ve'eser tevot shebibirkat hamotzi. It says in the Gemara of Yerushalmi that this is the aspect. Everything we spoke about up until now is all the aspect of the 10 different mitzvahs that there are from within bread, and the 10 words there are in the blessing when you say the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. So there's 10 words there. Ki bechol hashana echametz mutar kamuva bazohar ma'achar shekvar kiblu asveta bepesach. So the reason why we're allowed to eat the chametz, now we eat bread all year, is because we already received this refuah, this medication, which is called matzah. We received it on the 7 days of Pesach, and once a person gets that medication, then he already has the power to eat chametz throughout the whole year, and it doesn't have an effect on him. So basically, like what we said up until now, that this matzah has to do with the purification of the thoughts, and especially of the speech, that a person only speaks good, because that's basically, like I mentioned many times, in up until now, that the key, right, the key to bringing that bracha, that blessing onto one's entire being, fixing your eyes, fixing your ears, fixing your thoughts, your speech, it all has to do with slowly starting to play this melody of positivity and goodness from within your life. And when a person starts thinking that all the time and speaking good, then what happens is, like when he sees something that's bad, he just translates it into good. When he hears something bad, straight away he realizes that's something negative. That's bringing bad into the entire world, right? That's not something that's going to bring good. And he starts slowly, it takes time, right? But he starts fixing his entire being. So when a person gets this, understands this idea, and starts living his life by it, then he already can eat the chametz, and he has the strength to elevate it, and it won't drag him into the bad. The reason why there's 10 different commandments, that 10 different mitzvahs in the bread. I don't know all 10 of them, but there's there's the mitzvah of, like, when you make the dough, then you need to take a portion and give it to the Kohen. When you plant your field, you need to leave a pe'ah in the corner of the field. You leave a portion for the poor people, right? When you're collecting the wheat, you're cutting it and collecting it. If some pieces get left behind, you have to leave them for the poor. So in the Torah mentions, when it comes to the process of making bread, there's 10 different mitzvahs that the Torah brings. And for that reason, Chazal put together the 10 words that we say in the actual blessing. And there's also 10 melachot. There's 10 different works that you do. From the first stage, let's say you have the seed, now you need to plow the field, and then you plant, and then you harvest, and then you the whole process until it actually comes out of the oven. It's also 10 different melachot, types of work that you need to do. So all these correspond to this little yud, right? So Rav Natan says this is the reason why there's all these 10 aspects, is in order to draw down through these different processes that we go through. We're drawing down the 10 melodies that there are from within the bread. Bechinat simcha al yedei achila, which is this joy that we're drawing down, that we want to attain this joy through the eating of the bread. Ki achila tzcha liot b'kedusha b'bechinat simcha, because the eating, and especially the main food of a person, right, is the 5 grains, which corresponds to that hay, that daled and yud, which is the melody, which is the joy. Ki afal pi she'ochlim chametz, even though we're eating chametz, we're eating the bread, afal pi chen kvar hutar chametz v'nitaken al yedei achilat matzah asveta b'mei Pesach. So we're eating the chametz, but we're allowed to eat it because it was fixed with this refuah, this medication that we got throughout Pesach, the right understanding of what chametz is, and the being careful of chametz. That way we can be careful of it the whole year. Mazai, be careful, meaning we can eat it, and we can actually not, it won't affect us in a bad way. Meaning, if a person doesn't have this, right, so as soon as like a bad thought or something bad comes out of his mouth, or he sees something bad, right, he'll just he'll keep going. He won't catch him and say, hey, that's something bad, that's something that's going to draw negativity into my life, right? He won't get it. But as long as you're on the track and you realize what the right thing is, and you're starting to live by it, then as long you're basically it doesn't have an effect on you. So when a person gets this refuah, gets this medication on Pesach, then through that he can draw down the simcha through these 10 different words in the bracha, the 10 different mitzvahs there are in the bread. We know that eating, it all has to do with the fixing of the sin of Adam Arishon. From that eating, the good and bad, when he ate the tree of knowledge, good and bad, everything, all the good and bad got mixed up from within his organs and his body, turned into blood, the food, and went into his entire being. And through eating, when a person eats, he basically is doing this, his body's doing this whole separation process from within his body, and he's taking out the good, getting rid of the bad. That's the fixing of the sin of Adam Harishon, fixing of the land, of the food, of everything. For this reason, we need to make sure that the eating is always in a place of joy and simcha, that when a person eats, he's always bringing himself into a state of tapping into the joy, the happiness from within the food, and not letting himself get dragged into sadness. Never to think like negative thoughts about yourself when you're eating. I shouldn't be eating so much, I'm such a slob, and this, right? All that comes from the Esav, comes from the bad. So when a person eats, right, obviously he needs to try to do it in the right times, the right amounts and stuff like that. But when he does it, it's very important to do it b'simcha and be happy that you're eating now and it's holy food, it has kedusha from within it, and make sure to do it in a state of happiness, because through that you'll really elevate the good and it'll strengthen your connection to Hashem. And for this reason is why the bread is such an important food, and it's the only food that when you say hamotzi, right, so everything else is included. Right, there's also the wine, but when it comes to the foods, when you eat the bread, right, you say hamotzi, then any food that's from within the meal, that's part of the meal, is all, you don't say a bracha, and it's all included from within the meal. The reason for this is that the main elevation of all the sparks that are from within food, it's all through the blessing itself, when a person says the blessing on the food. The blessing that a person says, the bracha itself, is like this aspect of the melody. It's the aspect of joy of the melody. Like it says in Mishlei, Shlomo Melech said, the blessing of Hashem, when a person says a bracha, it brings riches, right? And richness is happiness. Like it says elsewhere, it says in Pirkei Avot, who's the person who's rich? He who is happy with his portion, right? So a rich person is somebody who's happy. And it says, when it comes, it doesn't come with sadness, which means the blessing of Hashem brings richness, which means brings happiness, and it shouldn't have any sadness from within it. So that corresponds to the eating of the food. So when a person says a bracha on the food, he's creating melodies. The melodies is basically all the elevating of all the sparks. So there's different processes in the elevating of the sparks. One of them is in the blessing, and the other ones is the eating process, and then that last blessing is another. The final elevation of the sparks. Rav Nachman wrote that the melodies are done when a person can collect all of the little nekudot avot from within the bad, right? He goes through all the good and all the bad, and he collects, all the little nekudot avot that he could find from within all the bad that he did. He collects all of them one. And through that, right, like Rav Nachman, so this is it's based on Reish Pei Bet, this idea, but he also, Rav Nachman brings it in the 54th lesson. He calls it over there the good wind and the bad wind, right? So the bad wind is all the bad things that we did, and the good wind is the little nekudot avot, the little good deeds there are from within all the bad. And it's also brought, he says, in the Torah of Azamra, which is Reish Pei Bet. So for this reason, through the blessing, when a person says a bracha, that through that bracha he's collecting all the little nikudot tovot, little sparks of holiness. דהיינו הניצוצות הקדושים שנתפזרו בתוך המאכל, על ידי חטא האדם הראשון שפגע מידות קרי, ועל ידי שמלקטין ומאספין הנקודות טובות מתוך הפסולת, והסטרא אחרא, על ידי זה נעשים ניגונים. So when a person says the bracha, through that he's collecting all the nikudot tovot, and all those nikudot tovot are the little sparks, the little souls. He collects all of them, and through that it starts creating this melody. And that's why the blessing is a melody, because the blessing has the power from within it. When you mention Hashem's name, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Hashem is the King, you're bringing to your mind, to your understanding, and also, teaching the world and saying it out loud. This concept where God is the King. There's this kingdom that Hashem's like ruling the whole world, and by doing that, giving the kavod to Hashem and mentioning Hashem's name, all the sparks of holiness from in the food, they get sucked out like magnets, and they go up in the blessing. So the bread that has from within it 10 mitzvahs, like we said, and also 10 words in the blessing, which correspond to these 10 melodies, like we mentioned above. So we see that the bread itself is included from within. It has from within it all the blessings of all the other types of food. Because the bread includes from within it the 10 melodies, which we said the 10 melodies. All the blessing itself is the melody, and the blessing on the bread has the 10 words, the 10 mitzvahs, so it corresponds to the 10 melodies, which all melodies, all blessings are included from within it, which are all the melodies, all the brachas. So that's why all other foods are completely already, as soon as you say amotzi on bread, all other foods are patur. You don't have to say a bracha on them, they're all included from within the bread, because that blessing that you say on the bread includes the 10 melodies, which includes all melodies in the world are included from within those 10 melodies. And for this reason, that's why it says in the Zohar that a person needs to be very careful with the crumbs of the bread. Like it says, whoever throws away crumbs of bread, so poverty chases after him. And more so a person who throws away the crumbs of his mind, which means his thoughts, right? He lets chametz, he lets his thought go off into bad thoughts, so even more so poverty of the mind will chase after him. Because the poverty of the mind is when a person's mind he's just always thinking negative and thinking bad and stuff like that, so that brings a real poverty onto his mind. So the reason why the Zohar ties these two together is because the crumbs of bread and the crumbs of the mind are the same aspect. Because the bread, we said, there's the 5 grains correspond to the letter Hey. The letter Hey is called Hey Hada'at, right? So that's why we also say in the bracha, we say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamotzi. You're supposed to emphasize on the Hey of hamotzi and bring it, like make it sound loud, like hamotzi, to emphasize on that Hey, which corresponds to the dot, that's the main thing that you're building and strengthening when you eat. And of course, you're doing it in a positive way of joy and happiness when you eat, to draw down that source of life into the food and into your 10 pulses to bring health, because your health of your body depends on the joy and the happiness, not just on eating right. A lot of people eat right, and it's good to eat right. It's important to watch what you eat and eat a good diet. But if a person isn't drawing down the happiness, the joy from within the food, and eating it in a state of happiness and bliss, right, then what happens is he can't draw down the happiness. It doesn't give, he stays healthy maybe a little bit, but it's not going to bring like true health into his whole physical and mental being unless he really draws the source of life of the 10 pulses, which is the happiness. And this is the reason why the Zohar ties together these two ideas of the crumbs of the mind and the crumbs of the bread, because the bread includes these 10 melodies from within it, which is the fixing of the crumbs of the mind, which is basically the Adam Arishon's blemish of the mind, where he blemished his mind by speaking Lashon Hara about his wife and blaming her for eating from the tree. כמבואר בדבר רבנו יאיר בעניין עשה קפיטל תהילים שתיקן רבנו יאיר לאומרם. Like Reb Nachman spoke about this in length in the Torah, where he revealed the 10 different melodies that we say. It's called Tikkun HaKlali, the 10 melodies that he put together to say for a person who wants to fix his mind and start, purifying his thoughts. Anyhow, that's the second halacha, and B'ezrat Hashem will continue Gimel at another point.